Hi, I'm here to read the first chapter of The Messenger Bird. Plot night. Didn't notice the men at first. Dad was late, so Mum had got the bonfire going, and the flames had already set fire to the guy's ripped jeans and the wisps of straw sticking out of his charity shop jumper. It sat on a perch of piled up wood with its grinning plastic mask, Dad's old tie dangling around its neck like a noose. The smell of smoke and sausages and singed baked potatoes wafted about in the cold air, making my mouth water. Mum and my big sister Hannah stood behind the table at the other end of the huge garden, dishing up hot chocolate and cake to practically the whole village. I picked the people out at the bonfire light while I munched toffee from a paper bag. A group who worked at the hospital, my mum was a nurse. A few of Hannah's friends from sixth form college, my best mates, Sasha, Josh, grabbing food. I smiled to myself as Josh's paper plate collapsed, sending him sprawling to catch rolling cakes and Sasha bending forward with the giggles. That's when I saw the two men. I wondered who they were, standing side by side in long dark coats, hats pulled low, covering their faces. "Welcome everyone to our new home," Mum called over the crackling fire. "Bit of a cold night for a housewarming, isn't it?" someone shouted, and everyone laughed. Everyone except those two blokes, the miserable things. I pulled my scarf tighter. Everything was always late in our family. It had taken us months to get round to having a housewarming party for a big old foxglove cottage, which we'd inherited of Great Aunt Hilda, together with her dog and all her Second World War junk. Then Dad had had an idea to combine a housewarming with bonfire night, which he said was symbolic. Hannah had said yes, it was symbolic for being a cheapskate, but why worry if Remember the 10th of November didn't have quite the same ring to it, and while we were at it, why not celebrate Nathan's birthday as well, since it was only 3 days away. But Dad had given me a wink and said that there'd be something extra special all of its own for my birthday, because it's not every day you turn 13. Where was Dad? I stared around the garden. Mum had roped Sasha's dad into doing the fireworks, and he was getting ready to set them off, which didn't really go with his posh accountant coat. I didn't want them to start yet. Dad and I always watched the fireworks together. A cheer went up as the flames burst over the guy. "Here, Nate." Dad was back at last. He handed me a lit sparkler, his warm hand over mine. Stars splashed from the sparkler tip like a magic wand. He had one too, and I felt my mouth crack open in a grin, and together we wrote our names fast in the air. Nathan, Leon, Nathan. Then round and round we went in a faster and faster, brighter and brighter, fizzing, spinning eyes that were still there when I blinked. I laughed and looked up at Dad's face, and he smiled at me, but I saw he was out of breath, and there was dark circles under his eyes. He'd been at work a lot recently, back late from his commute to London, too many deadlines. I squeezed his arm and chewed more toffee, a chunk bulging up in my mouth like sweet cement. A rocket whizzed up, it sprayed coloured lights against the nearly full moon like a gunshot thud. Glowing straw floated through the air as the guy's mask sizzled and melted away. I glanced across at the two men. They seemed to be staring in our direction. Dad was looking at them too, the sparkler a spitting stump in his hand, and his face had gone all serious, and I felt my heartbeat speed up. I looked at the two men more closely, at their coats and their hats, and their gloved hands curled into fists at their side. There was something weird about the way they were standing there, not moving, just watching us. "Dad," I managed. "Who are those?" I thought I had more time. Dad muttered to himself, cutting me off. He stood with his back to the bonfire as he glowed around all the edges. He came close to my ear. "Nate, I've got to tell you something important." I smirked. "Taping our conversations, are you, Dad?" I chomped. My mouth was still full of toffee, because that's what Dad did. on his flash new touchscreen phone, taped all his conversations, like he was 007 or something. He might have a desk job at the Ministry of Defence, but if you ask me, he took his special service stuff a bit too far. This isn't a game, Nate. I stopped smiling. Dad's face had gone an ashy colour, like he was ill. I've run out of time. The men were moving towards us now, through the clumps of people, and Dad was tracking them out of the corner of his eye. But he didn't turn his head, and he was speaking very low and very fast. You've got to follow Lily's trail, Nate. Without evidence, we've got nothing. His eyes glistened in the light of the bonfire. Follow Lily's trail. She lived in this house. He had hold of my arm. Promise me, Nate. You won't have long. I'm sorry to put you through this. I should have told you things before. I felt his fingernails digging into me. Found out something. It has to be a secret. Promise me. But I couldn't say anything back because my jaws were stuck together with the toffee, so I nodded like an idiot. Don't tell anyone either, Nate. I need you to promise that as well. Not even your mum or Hannah. The more people that know, the more dangerous it is. You can't trust anyone else either. You hear me? Don't trust anyone. I breathed fast in the bitter air. Okay, I spluttered. But what's going on? I'm innocent, Nate. Remember that. Somewhere nearby, a little child was crying. The frosty grass made shadows like teeth in the moonlight. The men were close now, too close to say much more. And you better do your history homework, Nathan. Dad let out a large bellow of a laugh, but his eyes were boring into me. Don't Ruddy tell me, try and hide it, like you did last time. He shot me a look, and I stared at him, forcing down the stupid toffee. Dad never calls me Nathan, and he never swears at me, never. But I didn't get a chance to say anything back, because then the men were between me and Dad talking to him, but I couldn't hear over the firework bangs. One had hold of Dad's arm. I tried to get closer, and they pressed me away. Both of them had hold of Dad now, and I pushed forward to get to him, but he shook his head at me. He let them lead him off as if he had accepted it. I followed, stumbling on half-eaten toffee apples and plastic cups dropped in the mud. Nobody seemed to be noticing anything, only the exploding fireworks, and I wanted to shout for help, shout for Mum, but all I could do was try and keep up with Dad and the two men. People gasped, and as I glanced back, I saw the bonfire rise up and the guy collapse into the flames. I got round to the front of the house, out of the side of the party, and the men pushed Dad into a waiting car as the engine revved. For a tiny second, our eyes met, and I saw a secret message there. Remember, Dad was saying, remember what I said. There was a sound of laughing and clapping from the garden. The door slammed, and it had tinted windows so I couldn't see him. The car lunched off fast down the lane, sending beams into the skylight searchlights, and my throat was all squeezed tight with a panic like I was going to choke. And Dad was gone.